Hello and welcome to my Stamperia Fortune mini album tutorial series designed for scrap and create. All of the products that I will be using to create this mini album and box will be linked in the description box below, so check those out, purchase your supplies, and follow along. In today's tutorial, we are going to be working on the back side of page 2. The first piece that you're going to cut is 6.5 by 6.5. On one of the 6.5 inch sides, you're going to score at 1/2 inch down the right hand side, and take those scissors and miter the ends on that 1/2 inch tab section. Then the next piece, 4 3/4 by 1 1/4. On the 4 3/4 inch side, we're going to score at 1/2 inch on the left hand side of this piece, and then miter the ends on that 1/2 inch tab section. Next, I have a piece that measures 4.5 by 6 inches. On the 6 inch side, we're going to score at 1/2 inch along the top, and then we're going to miter the ends on the 1/2 inch tab. Next, we have a piece that measures 2 inches by 5.5 inches. On the 2 inch side, we're going to score at 1/2 inch down the right hand side and miter the ends on that 1/2 inch tab section. I have the next piece is 2 3/4 by 8 1/4. On the 2 3/4 inch side, we're going to score at 1/2 inch along the left side, and then miter those ends on that 1/2 inch tab section on that piece. And then the final piece, 4.5 inches by 3.5 inches, no need for scoring. Now I'm going to come in here on each of these pieces with my score lines. I'm going to fold and burnish with my bone folder. Then I will come back and we'll start assembling the page. I'm going to start with my 6.5 inch square flap first, applying my adhesive to this tab section. I have my centering ruler here. I am marking this at 3 1/4 inches from center, and I'm going to place this on that right edge of my page, making sure that my score line is lined up with the edge. It will be just slightly smaller over here because remember our page is 6 1/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to burnish this down. Now I'm going to take my little tiny band. This is going to be my closure. I'm going to open this flap up. I'm going to be placing this in the center on this side, so 5/8 of an inch from center on both sides, applying adhesive to this tiny little 1/2 inch tab section, and then adhering this down here, making sure that that score line is right at the edge of the page. And then I will burnish this one down. With my next piece, it measures 6 by 4.5. I'm going to bring my centering ruler over here. I am going to add my adhesive onto my 1/2 inch tab, and this one I'm going to place in the center of my flap at the top. So this one is going to be at 2 1/4 inches, lining that score line up with the top edge of this flap, and then burnishing this down. With my little small 2 inch flap, I'll place my adhesive on the 1/2 inch tab, and this is eventually going to be turned into a shallow pocket on the front here. So I'm just going to use my score line to line this up with the edge of that that smaller flap and burnish this down. With my 8 1/4 inch piece, I'm going to apply my adhesive to this tab, and this I'm going to be placing on the left side of the page. It will be a larger pocket on the base of the page. So I'm going to line this up. It's a little tiny bit past the edge of the page because I'm using the score line on this smaller flap. I need that small flap to fold over top of it. So once I have that in place, I can burnish it down, and it's just a little tiny bit over from the edge of my page. I have this piece left. I'm going to just stick it under here for now. Once we have decorative papers on here, I'm going to place this here so it's a stationary photo mat, and then another one will tuck behind it. Now I'm going to close this flap and close this flap. And then the final piece that you will need to cut is going to be one of the decorative pieces. So I've cut these two from my decorative 8x8 papers. I'm going to actually use this one, and I've already done this. I placed it on a piece of cardstock, and then I have fussy cut around it, and I fussy cut a little bump out here and a little bump out here. Now this piece I've just cut completely circular, nothing is sticking out, and it's going to go on the back side eventually, but we're going to place a magnet on here once we get our papers on here. But for now, I am going to adhere this piece to the front of this, and we're going to place it on the band in the next step. Taking this 12 by 12 paper here, I've cut the strip off of this side. So I cut this piece. I've cut two that measure 4 inches by 1 inches. I'm going to place one here on the front of the band, and then the other piece I'm going to place here on the back side of the band. Now I have my 8x8 paper here. The first thing I did was cut 5 3/4 from the left side of the page. Then I have trimmed this to 6 1/4, and it was just past this little circular piece here and just above the writing. I'm going to take this piece and set it right here on my front flap, but I'm not going to adhere it down yet. I'm going to close my band and then take this piece here. And I am going to be placing this, I'm not going to put it here in the center like that because it does cover this, and I want to cover this image here. And I will apologize if you can hear my puppy barking. She sees something out the window. Hopefully she won't start fully barking. So what I'm going to do here is just line my, it's got like this cross looking part on it. I'm lining it up so that this is straight with my planet here, and my circle is just above the writing. Now I'm going to take my pencil and I'm just going to lightly trace this here so I know where this needs to go. Now I'll apply my adhesive, and using that line that I drew on my piece, I'll go ahead and line this back up and adhere this down. Then I'll go ahead and move this to the side for just a moment. Going to take my first magnet, and I'm going to be placing my magnet, it's going to be slightly off to the side because I don't want it in that part where there's all those papers meeting. So it's just going to be slightly off to the side here. Then I have my twine that I have doubled over, and I put one of the planet charms on this. And I am going to have this. You can have this hang down here if you want it to hang here, or you can have it hang off of the side. And I think for mine, I actually kind of like it hanging off of the bottom for some reason. You could have it hanging off of there where this planet is too. That might look kind of cute. I'm going to be adhering mine down here at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and apply my adhesive here and then just tuck those ends into my adhesive. Flip it over just to make sure I had it correctly in position. And then I'm going to take this and apply it here to cover my magnet and the ends of my twine. Once I have this covered, I'll go ahead and add my magnet on top, remove my backing, and then close this here to place my magnet on the front of this flap. And then I'm going to go ahead and adhere this down to cover my magnet. Once this is covered, I'm going to flip into the inside, starting with this piece here. I've cut the leftover strip of paper from this side down here, and I've just trimmed 1/4 inch off. So this measures 2 inches, and this is 8 inches. So it will go right here on the front of this piece. Then I have this piece here. It was a leftover piece. I believe this is from the 12 by 12 paper, and I've cut this to 1 1/4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to place this here on the front of this smaller pocket. And then this piece here, I've cut from the top portion of my 12 by 12 paper, and this is 3 inches by 5 1/4. I'm going to place this here, then I'm going to apply adhesive to the top and the bottom of this flap and close this to form that little pocket on the side. Next, I'm going to flip this up. I'm going to start here from this 12 by 12 paper. I've cut a piece to 4 inches by 8 inches. Now I'm going to place this here on the right side of the page base. Then I'm going to apply my adhesive to the top and the bottom of my flap and close it to form my pocket. For this side over here, I have this 12 by 12 paper. I have cut this to 5 3/4 by 12. Then I cut the little strip off the bottom right at that red line. And this piece I've cut to 5 3/4 by 6 1/4. I'm going to place this here directly on the flap, like this. Then I had this piece left over and I just trimmed this down. So this is 4 1/4 and I left it to this size. I'm going to put it at the top of my flap here. I've trimmed this piece down now to 4 1/4 and I'm going to place this here at the bottom of the flap to break up these two pieces and to fully cover that flap. So I did mention I was going to place this here as a stationary photo mat. I was going to adhere it down to the flap, but I don't think I like the look of it. I don't want to cover up this paper. So for now, I'm just going to stick it in here and I will use this as a photo mat for the pocket. We will come back later and add a photo mat to this one as well, or I could use this one here. So maybe I'll tuck this one in here. That's a good size for that. And then we'll come back later and we will add a photo mat there. And I will probably end up adding some decorative elements here. You can place your photos wherever you choose, but I might add a little bit of embellishments later. For now, this is all I'm going to be adding to the page. So that is it for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we will begin working on the front side of page 3. So stay tuned and I'll see you in the next tutorial.